The restaurant was dimly lit, the flickering bulbs casting restless shadows across the room. I sat at the bar, a whiskey neat in hand, the glass cool against my palm. The amber liquid swirled as I tilted it, but my focus wasn't on my drink. It was on them. My wife, Emma. She sat in the corner booth, her eyes bright, her laughter light and carefree. She looked beautiful, just as she always did. And for a fleeting second, I could almost forget. Almost. Then, I saw his hand. Under the table, his fingers traced slow, intimate circles on her thigh. I gripped my glass tighter. The ice clinked softly against the sides, the sound barely audible over the low hum of conversation around me. A storm raged in my chest, anger, betrayal, heartbreak, but I remained calm. I had been suspicious for weeks. The late nights at work. The way she turned her phone screen away whenever I walked by. The subtle, unfamiliar cologne that clung to her clothes when she got home. Tonight, I had confirmation. And now, I had a plan. I didn't want a screaming match. I didn't want some half-hearted apology or a weak excuse draped in regret. No, Emma had made her choice. And now, she, and Martin, would face the consequences. For months, I had been preparing for this. Gathering evidence. Watching. Waiting. I'd hired a private investigator, collected photographs, messages, timestamps. Everything was neatly compiled in a thick folder, resting in my office at home. It wasn't for court. This wasn't about legal justice. This was personal. Step 1, Exposure. I started with Martin. A simple social media search led me straight to Claire, his wife. Her online presence painted a picture of a happy, unsuspecting woman. Smiling family photos, weekend trips with their 2 kids, heartfelt captions about love and devotion. She deserved the truth. I arranged an anonymous meeting at a quiet cafe. When she arrived, she looked nervous, her fingers twitching as she adjusted her coat. I hated this part. But I wasn't here to comfort her. Without a word, I slid the folder across the table. She hesitated before opening it. Then, as her eyes moved over the photographs, the messages, the undeniable proof, her breath hitched. Tears pooled in her eyes, but she swallowed hard, blinking them away. Strong. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, in a voice laced with quiet steel, she whispered, "Thank you for telling me." I nodded. She had her own plans for Martin. And together, we ensured his world wouldn't remain unscathed. Step 2, Confrontation. That evening, I set the table for 2. Candlelight flickered, reflecting off crystal glasses. A bouquet of her favorite flowers sat at the center, filling the room with their soft fragrance. When Emma walked in, she smiled. Oblivious. "What's all this?" she asked, setting her bag down. I met her gaze, my expression unreadable. "Just wanted to do something special for my wife." She leaned in, kissing my cheek. If she noticed the stiffness in my posture, she didn't say anything. Dinner began like any other. We talked about work. The upcoming holidays. She laughed, completely unaware that the ground beneath her was about to crack. Then, as I placed dessert on the table, I spoke. "Emma," I said, my voice measured, "I've been thinking a lot about us lately." Her smile wavered. "Oh." I reached under the table and pulled out the folder. The same one Claire had seen hours earlier. The truth. I slid it across the table. "I think you should look at this." She hesitated, then opened it. For a moment, she just stared. Then, her hands began to shake. Page after page, the damning evidence unfolded before her. Photographs. Messages. Proof. No room for lies. Her breath caught. Her eyes lifted to mine, filled with tears. I can explain, she stammered. I exhaled slowly, shaking my head. There's no need. Silence. I know everything, Emma. I've known for weeks. I sat back, watching as her world crumbled. And this dinner? My voice was calm, deliberate. It's not about explanations. I let the moment sink in before I delivered the final blow. It's about consequences. Emma's face had lost all color. Her breath came in short, shallow gasps, panic replacing the confidence she once carried so effortlessly. Her perfect world was shattering, and she knew it. Please, she whispered, reaching for my hand. Let me fix this. It was a mistake, a horrible mistake. I studied her, my expression unreadable. A mistake. That word was almost laughable. No, Emma, I said, my voice measured, controlled. A mistake is an accident. What you did. That was a choice. Over and over again. I leaned back, exhaling slowly. And I can't forgive that. Step 3, Resolution. I had already spoken to a divorce lawyer. The paperwork had been drawn up, waiting for this exact moment. Without a word, I reached into my jacket and pulled out the stack of neatly printed documents. Sliding them across the table, I tapped the spot where she needed to sign. Next, I said simply. Sign these. Her lips parted, her eyes searching mine, desperate. Wait. I shook my head. I don't want a fight. I'm not asking for money, the house, the car. Keep them all. I just want my dignity. Tears streamed freely down her face now, her shoulders trembling. But I didn't waver. I had spent months drowning in my own heartbreak, and now, finally, I could breathe. With trembling hands, she picked up the pen. And just like that, with each signature, I watched the weight of our broken marriage lift off my shoulders. Step 4, Accountability. Claire and I had one last thing to do. It wasn't enough for Martin to get away with this, to continue his life as if nothing had happened. He had ripped apart 2 families. There had to be consequences. We arranged to meet him at his office. A public place, somewhere he couldn't escape or brush us off. When we stepped through the glass doors, his head snapped up from his desk. For a brief moment, confusion flickered across his face. Then, realization hit. His skin flushed a deep, humiliated red. Trapped. What is this? He demanded, his voice uneven, his confidence cracking. Claire stepped forward, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. This is your reckoning. Her voice was steady, filled with conviction. She didn't waver. Neither did I. We know everything, I said, watching as his shoulders tensed. And now, you're going to face the consequences. I placed a folder, the same folder I had slid across the table to Emma, on his desk. His name was written in bold, black ink. He hesitated, then flipped it open. With every page, every damning photograph, every text message, I saw his bravado crumble. His hands clenched the papers, his breath uneven. He looked up, scrambling for something, excuses, explanations, anything to salvage the situation. But we weren't interested. Claire had already filed for divorce. And as for his career, his carefully built image of integrity and professionalism was about to take a serious hit. His choices had led him here. Now, he would deal with the fallout. Moving forward. Walking out of that building, for the first time in months, I felt free. Emma and Martin had made their choices, and now, they were living with the consequences. This wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life, a life no longer dictated by their betrayal. In the months that followed, I rebuilt myself. I dove into work, reconnecting with old friends I had neglected. I traveled. I laughed again. I even started dating. The scars of betrayal never truly fade. But they become part of the story, a reminder of what I survived. A testament to my resilience. One evening, I sat in my new apartment, a glass of whiskey in hand, the city lights twinkling outside my window. For the first time in a long, long time, I felt peace. Betrayal is a choice, not a mistake. Cheating isn't something that just happens. It's a series of deliberate decisions that betray trust. Trust your instincts. When something feels off in a relationship, late nights, secrecy, unexplained changes, it's worth paying attention to. Evidence is powerful. Before confronting a cheater, having proof prevents gaslighting and manipulation. Facts speak louder than excuses. Revenge isn't the answer, accountability is. Destroying someone's life out of anger can backfire. Instead, making them face the consequences is far more effective. Self-respect comes first. Walking away from betrayal isn't weakness, it's strength. Knowing your worth means refusing to tolerate disrespect. Closure comes from action, not words. Cheaters will always have excuses, but closure isn't found in their apologies, it's found in taking control of your own life. Protect the innocent. The betrayed spouse of the affair partner, Claire, deserved to know the truth. Keeping silent allows the deception to continue. Healing takes time, but it's possible. Moving on isn't instant, but with time, self-focus, and new experiences, peace will return. A new beginning is better than a broken foundation. Holding on to a damaged marriage for the sake of history only delays the inevitable. Sometimes, a fresh start is the best option. The best revenge is living well. At the end of the day, the best way to move past betrayal is to build a life so fulfilling that the past no longer matters.